This is Magnus Carlsen, the #1 chess player in the world and 5-time world champion. He is so good at the game that he almost always beats his opponents easily. Sometimes, his wins take hours, but in this video we will look at his fastest wins ever, where he destroys his opponents in seconds. This is Sergey Karyakin, a super grandmaster from Russia. In this game, Magnus was playing with the white pieces against him, and he opens with 1e4. He develops the knight and bishop and the game quickly becomes a Ruy Lopez. Magnus has played this opening many times, and knows it well. He develops the knight and already has a slight advantage, but now, the game will become a bloodbath and Magnus will go straight for the black king's throat. They shuffle the pieces around until Magnus has had enough. Magnus retreats his bishop, and Sergey uses a lot of his time. But when Sergey moves, it turns out his move was a mistake. Magnus attacks Sergey's bishop, and Sergey's best move is to just capture the bishop. But instead, Sergey retreats, which is another mistake. They shuffle around the pieces and Magnus gets ready to launch a huge attack on black's exposed king. Magnus puts his rook on the open file, and you can already tell Karyakin is going to lose. They trade a few pieces, and Magnus gets his queen into the attack. It's already over for Sergey. Magnus captures a pawn, and a few moves later, he wins in exchange. And, after Magnus plays f6, Sergey resigns, because Magnus was threatening queen g7 check and then queen e7 mate. They shake hands, and Magnus only ended up using just over a minute of his time. In the next game, Magnus plays against FIDE master Espen. Magnus opens with 1g3, and it becomes a king's fianchetto opening. Because Magnus has 500 more rating than Espen, Magnus only starts with 40 seconds on the clock to make it fair. Magnus develops his knights and strikes at the center with c4. Espen spends a lot of time to think and Espen retreats his pieces and Magnus takes the center with his powerful knights. Magnus is locked in. Espen makes a mistake and Magnus brings his queen into the attack. Then he brings his rook. Magnus is ready to slaughter black's king. All of Magnus' pieces are lined up against Espen's king. Magnus sacrifices his knight to bring his queen closer so he can deliver mate. Espen thinks a bit, and tries bringing his rook to defend the king. But Magnus puts his rook on g6, and there is no hope for Espen. Magnus takes the pawn on h6 and after the rook takes back, Espen resigns. When you look at the clock, you can see it took Magnus 18 seconds to win, which is very impressive. If you are enjoying the video, please subscribe and like the video to help my channel, it would mean a lot. In this next game, Magnus takes on Bill Gates, one of the richest people in the world. To make it fair, Magnus starts with only 30 seconds on his clock, but what he does next ends up shocking everyone. Bill Gates is playing with the white pieces, and they start the game by developing their pieces. Bill thinks for a while and defends his pawn with his bishop, which is a mistake. Magnus brings out his knight, and they trade on d5. Magnus' queen is now active. Magnus starts shuffling his pieces towards the king side to start an attack on Bill's king. This position is already scary for white, and Bill makes the mistake of castling straight into an attack. Magnus places his bishop on g4, creating a double pin on Bill's knight. Bill is already losing. Now, Magnus brings his knight into the attack, and after Bill takes on g4 he can bring his other knight as well. Finally, Bill takes the knight, and Magnus mates Bill on h2.
That was quick. Oh, that was bad.
He managed to defeat Bill in only 9 moves, and it took him just 11 seconds. In conclusion, Magnus Carlsen's fastest win of his career was the win against Bill Gates, while only using 11 seconds to mate him. If you enjoyed, please subscribe and like, it would help me so much.